Okay, so this first one says the characteristic equation of a JK flip-flop is, and then I have up here the truth table for a JK flip-flop. And so I could do a Carnot map, or we could look at it and see if we could figure it out. I think I'm going to do a Carnot map because I'm very tired, and I think if I just try to think and try to use my brain, it's not going to work. Okay, so I'll have JK up here and Q here. 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 1, 0, 0, and 1. And I want to look for where my next state is 1. So that would be JK is 0 and Q is 1. JK 0, Q 1. And it would be this row. J is 1, K and Q are 0. This one, J is 1, K is 0, and Q is 1. And our last one, J and K are 1 and Q is 0, and that's right here. And so our best cover of this will look like that. And so this top circle has J equaling 1 and Q equaling 0, so that's JQ bar. And this circle that wraps around has K equal to 0 and Q equal to 1. So this is JQ bar and K bar Q. That looks like D. I'm having a hard time reading this. Does anyone have like a better, oh wait, I have it here. Yes, and that is right. Okay, so did that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. In a JK flip-flop, if J equals K, then what would the resulting flip-flop be referred to as? So what we want to look at for this one is we're saying if J equals K. So we are making this to where we really kind of just have one input. So we would ignore the rows where J and K have different values. So I'm crossing those all out. So now we would have a truth table that looks like this. So this is J equals K. So those would be our values, and this is Q, and this is Q star. So we have 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1. So when J and K are both 0 and Q is 0, then our output is 0. When J and K are both 0 and Q is 1, our output is 1. When J and K are both 1 and Q is 0, our output is 1. And when J and K are both 1 and Q is 1, our output is 0. So now let's look at this without thinking about J and K and just say, okay, I've got my input here, whatever this input is. And when my input is 0, Q and Q star are the same. So I could just say that's Q. When my input is 1, my output is the complement of my input. That would be Q bar. So what kind of flip-flop is that? So when the input is 0, we have no change. When the input is 1, it toggles. And it's multiple choice. So we only have four choices, and one of them I've never heard of. So I can get rid of an SK flip-flop. You have a 1 in 3 chance, and there's 3 of you. Yes, correct. Thank you. It's a T flip-flop. So a T flip-flop, if the input is 0, there's no change, and if the input is 1, there's a toggle. So that's that one. All right. So now I want to take a look at looking at the output states for this particular JK flip-flop, given the inputs that are shown. So I'm going to make it a little bigger, I hope, maybe. Okay, one thing to notice is this JK flip-flop is not quite a JK flip-flop, because we've got a bubble here on the K input. And so really what we have here is a flip-flop that is like a JK flip-flop, but our input for our input for K is kind of backwards. So normally with a JK flip-flop, I'll put regular JK. We have that when J equals 0 and K equals 0, we have no change. And we have when J equals 0 and K equals 1, that would be a reset. Or you can just say our output Q star equals 0. When J equals 1 and K equals 0, that's a set. Our Q star equals 1. And J equal 1 and K equals 0, that's a toggle. Or Q star equals Q bar. But this particular flip-flop, we have the bubble on the K. So what that's going to do is it's going to make it so that we need to complement all these values for K. So I'm going to flip each one of these. So on this particular flip-flop, we will get, if J is 0 and K is 0, that's going to be a reset. And if J is 1 and K is 1, that's going to be a set. So when we put the bubble on that K, that's what we're going to get. Okay, so now when I do a timing diagram, I like to draw a vertical line showing when I'm going to make a change. By the way, I should have said that we'll assume both of these, we'll assume that our output is starting at 0. And this is a positive edge triggered flip-flop. We know that because there's not a bubble right there at the clock. So it's a positive edge triggered flip-flop. So I'm going to draw vertical lines. I'm going to try to draw vertical lines. I thought I had a way to do lines. That's not what I want. There we go. So at the positive edge trigger, positive clock edge, that's the best I can do. Okay, so when we get to the first positive clock edge, we'll take a look at what K and J are doing. K and J are both 0. When K and J are both 0, that corresponds to a reset, or Q star equaling to 0. So it's already at 0, so it'll just stay at 0. until we get to the next positive clock edge. At the next positive clock edge, J and K are both 1. J and K both equaling 1 corresponds to a set, so it'll become 1. At the next positive clock edge, K is 1 and J is 0. K1, J0, this is top 1, that's no change. At the next clock edge, I have K is 0, J is 0. That's a reset, so down to 0. The next clock edge, I have K0, J1. K0, J1, that's a toggle. I was at 0, so that means I'll change and go to 1. The next clock edge, K is 0 and J is 1. That's a toggle again. Is that right? Yep, that's right. Okay, and then at the next clock edge, J is 0 and K is 0. That corresponds to a reset, but I'm already at 0. And at the next clock edge, K is 1 and J is 0. And that's no change. So it looks like that. So that's my Q output. So my Q bar output will just be the opposite of that. Okay, so any questions on those concepts? And I'm going to stop and save this one before I go on to the next question.
How did you know that it was a positive edge triggered again?
Okay, so I look at the actual flip-flop up here, and I look at the clock input. So the clock input, most of in your book, they usually put the clock down here at the bottom, but the clock is the triangle, and if it just is a plain triangle, that's positive edge triggered. If you have a little circle there, a little bubble, that means it's negative edge triggered.
Okay.
So that's how you can tell right there. And that's also how I knew that this flip-flop was not quite a JK flip-flop because of that bubble right there on the K. Okay, any other questions? All right.